Welcome, everyone. There's an old saying that the theater was so off-Broadway it was in Brooklyn. 30 seconds old, I just thought of it. This is way, 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 way off-Broadway, but welcome to Malvern's premiere performance of JFK in Crisis, From the Bedroom to the War Room, written by Abraham Becker. Phil Becker with music by Abraham, and a wonderful cast of people who are local. At this time, I'd like to ask you to please silence. Set your cell phones to stun. Okay? Restrooms are over there. There'll be refreshments afterwards, and please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you.
Big budget. Where were you in 1962 when the Broadway hit was Camelot with King Arthur, Guinevere, Merlin, and Canterlot in Camelot? And of course the kingdom needs a jester and a troubadour. Cuba had just turned red, and JFK was busy in bed. JFK went from the bedroom to the boardroom, to the war room, from woman to woman, from the state of his affairs to the affairs of state. JFK saved the world while getting laid. In his brief time as president, John F. Kennedy dealt with more than his share of crises, but none more explosive than the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962, an event that could have ended the world. At the crossroads of his presidency, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, JFK proved great in affairs of state. Allow me to introduce you to JFK and the ghost of Marilyn Monroe. She was the late, great Marilyn Monroe.
As for the state of JFK's affairs, well, I was a part of that. I'm Marilyn Monroe. I sang Happy Birthday, Mr. President to him in May 1962. By the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, everyone keeps talking about happened in October of 1962. I was the late, great Marilyn Monroe.
The late, great Marilyn Monroe.
But before we get into the juicy parts, my affair with Mr. President, and ultimately my untimely death, there's a bit more stuff about the affairs of state.
Father, how can you tell the Americans that we are turning nuclear missiles like sausages? I know for a fact, as an engineer myself, that we only have 2 or 3 of them.
The Americans are stupid and more gullible than you give them credit for, Sergei. In the 1960 presidential election, when Kennedy ran against Nixon, didn't he say the U.S. was behind the Soviet Union in the missile gap?
Yes, I remember, but what about the other little problem?
What other problem?
Our missiles can't reach Washington, D.C. from Moscow.
Son, I want you to look through these binoculars. What do you see?
I see a hot blonde in the third row. I see a beautiful view of the Black Sea.
Well, I see American nuclear missiles aimed at my Dacha. The missiles are based in Turkey, 5 minutes away, right across the water, about to destroy my villa. But I intend to give the Americans a taste of their own medicine. Mother Russia is ascending. We just launched the Sputnik satellite and also put the first man in space. Our cosmonaut, Curry, Gagarin, and the United States, and particularly President Kennedy, are in decline. Oh, JFK was indecisive at the Bay of Pigs. I bullied him at our meeting last year in Vienna. Now, we must strike while the Iron Curtain is hot. I am going to secretly put nuclear missiles in Cuba that can reach Washington, D.C. And I'm going to announce an alliance with Fidel Castro's Cuba right before the 1962 American midterm elections. Then we will have President Kennedy right where we want him, tied to the railroad tracks when a nuclear locomotive is coming.
Father, isn't that a bit risky?
Let me tell you a story about a man who had to move in with his goat after falling on hard times. Although he didn't like the smell, he eventually became accustomed to it. Russia has been living with a goat. The NATO countries like Turkey and Greece and Spain for a long time. And now America will have to get used to its own goat, Cuba.
Father, if your daring Cuba gamble works, you'll be held the greatest communist since Karl Marx. But if it backfires, it could mean World War III. And then comes your next little problem.
Which is?
That you too are tied to the railroad tracks with President Kennedy.
Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty. I'm tired of looking weak to Khrushchev. The Russians sent a man into space while our rockets blow up on the launch pad for the whole world to see. Lyndon
A warm White House welcome for Lyndon Baines Johnson. He's JFK's vice president and an expert on congressional legislation and outer space exploration.
Lyndon, how can we beat the Russians in outer space?
I don't rightly know. We might have a hell of a time getting the moon budget through Congress. This'll cost us billions, with a capital B.
I don't give a damn. What'll it cost? Khrushchev beat the hell out of me in Vienna last year. Now we need to beat the Russians in space. How soon can we get to the moon?
Perhaps within the decade.
To the moon, Alice!
All right, ready?
Wagons west and rockets east. No limit to what we can achieve. We'll be the first ones to the moon. The path is clear, the time is soon. America will be first to the moon. There's a new frontier to explore. We'll do it while we win this Cold War. We'll be second to none. We know how to get the job done. America will be second to none. Everything is new in the new frontier. Everything is just more clear out here. Over the horizon, like it was before. Everything in make for that far shore. There's a new frontier to explore. We'll do it while we win this Cold War. We'll be second to none. We know how to get the job done. America will be second to none. We'll be second to none. We know how to get the job done. America will be second to none.
Good job, Lindy and I feel a speech coming on.
On September 12th, 1962, JFK delivers his famous "We Choose to Go to the Moon" speech at Rice University Football Stadium, Houston, Texas.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because the challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
Let's visit the White House. Let's visit the indoor pool, where the water is warm indeed.
Secret Service.
Mr. President, we have a situation.
Can't you see I'm busy?
But Mr. President,
What national catastrophe is it now? A new steel price hike? Civil rights? Is Martin Luther King in jail again somewhere and needs my help to get out?
no, sir.
All right, so why can we not consider me busy?
I see, sir, but
Have we got some great international crisis? What ridiculousness is Khrushchev up to now? Something in Cuba? No, not Berlin again.
it's worse, Mr. President. Mrs. Kennedy is coming down the hall. She's on her way here to the swimming pool.
Mayday! Mayday!
Joining our festivities now is actor and socialite, meaning someone who is famous for doing nothing of note. Peter Lawford. He is, in the words of Frank Sinatra, the brother-in-law of JFK. He's also a Hollywood friend of Marilyn Monroe.
Listen, Peter. J. Edgar Hoover is giving me a hard time over JFK's affair with Judith Campbell. In case you didn't know, that woman, who Sinatra introduced him to, also happens to be sleeping with the monster Sam Giancana. Please tell Sinatra that the president will not be staying at his place, but instead will be staying at Bing Crosby's from the 24th until the 26th.
Oh, great. Frank would just love to hear that the president will be staying at a Republican's estate.
Well, you can blame it on the Secret Service. Crosby's place is better suited.
Frank really might kill me, Bobby. He's put in extra phone lines, telexes, a teleport, and even stuck a flagpole just like the one in Hyannis.
Nobody asked Mr. Sinatra to stick anything in anywhere, Peter.
Frank was counting on this place to becoming the West Coast White House.
Look, Peter, JFK cannot sleep in the house of a man who played host to hoodlums. You know that.
So, despite my objections, and Frank's disappointment and anger, RFK moved JFK to Bing Crosby's estate. And as a result, everyone got screwed here. Frank got screwed out of his California White House. I got screwed royally Sinatra barely ever spoke to me again. The bastard even replaced me in his next Rat Pack movie, with Bing Crosby no less, a Republican. And the final screwing of this episode, between the President and Marilyn Monroe, took place at the Crosby estate.
It was a twist of fate. All right, the President and I had our night. We played a comedy. All right, it was bittersweet, bittersweet. Touristing, oh touristing the night away. In the blink of an eye, in the shape of my heart, in the time of my life, in a world apart. We were trysting, oh trysting the night away. We were trysting, oh trysting the night away. We were trysting, oh trysting the night away.
So, how did it go with Mr. President?
I'm going to marry him.
She's the late, great Marilyn Monroe. She wants what she wants, she won't take no. She's the late, great Marilyn Monroe. She wants what she wants, and she won't take no.
You're going to what? You can't, Marilyn. He's already married.
Where is dear Jackie anyway? She seems to be MIA. Anyway, Peter, seriously, I married Arthur the author and Mr. Baseball. Why not, Mr. President? Why shouldn't one powerhouse marry another?
The President will never get divorced.
Oh, really? I, little Norma Jean Baker, have spent the last 10 years making successful movies for 20th Century Fox. What has Jackie ever done besides working an $11 a day job, interviewing men on the street and asking them, so what would you do on a date with Marilyn Monroe?
What has she ever done? She married John Fitzgerald Kennedy. She is the First Lady. She is a Bouvier. She is the mother of his children.
I'm hot, it's my spot. I'm in know that some like it hot. I'm flirty, bubbly, sassy, fun. We all know that gentlemen response. I do for him what Viagra does for you men. My movie Niagara, seen it? See it again. I'm hot, she's not. She is cold, she's distant. She's in Virginia, a debutante, a brunette. An aristocrat. The president is a prince and I am a showgirl. He will be mine and we will tell the whole world. It's 6 years plus, but he's counting. He's got a 7-year itch. And I know how to marry really rich paper fresh shot. Something's got to give. Washington is my bus stop. We're not a couple of business but together or whatever. And I kinda let you live. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. And I kinda let you live. And I kinda let you live. Together and I kinda let you live forever.
May 19th, 1962, President Kennedy celebrated his 45th birthday at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Mr. President, Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe. Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe.
Which is ironic because I died 2 months later and literally became the late Marilyn Monroe. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
I can now retire from politics after having happy birthday sung to me in such a sweet and wholesome way.
I am fun. I'm number one.
She is crass, has no class.
I know how sex rules the heart, not the head and the bed.
I know the rules by heart, in my head, in my bed. Something's got to give.
Mr. President, I am hot to trot and I give a lot.
Jack, Jackie, John, I'm of French descent, well-bred.
Hollywood and pop culture, 10 box office breaking movies.
Private school, real culture, former debutante with a degree.
Superstar, the Marilyn Monroe, a diva.
From Vassar, Jacqueline Lee Bouvier.
I will not leave limbo.
First lady, not a bimbo. So something's
Something's
gotta
gotta
give.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? See, I know French too.
Time for bedroom frolics.
Ah!
Behind every successful man is a woman, and behind her is his wife.
Whose panties are these?
Oh, so that's where I left them. Jack, tell him tell her those panties are mine.
Aren't they yours, Jackie?
Not even close to my size. I trust that you'll return these to their rightful owner. Are those panties Marilyn Monroe's? Jack, really? Marilyn Monroe in the Lincoln bedroom? I have always put up with your indiscretions, Jack, as long as they didn't get out to the public. But Marilyn Monroe, for God's sake, after she very publicly sang you that very gaudy and very bawdy rendition of Happy Birthday, Mr. President. Jack, how can you do this to me? After all I've done for your presidency, I inherited a dumpy White House from that dowdy Mamie Eisenhower and Bess Truman. And even Eleanor Roosevelt, who could not have cared less what the White House looked like. I bring youth and glamour to the White House. Look how everyone is copying my style. For God's sake, Jack, I single-handedly brought in DuPont money to help pay for the White House renovations. And when that wasn't enough,
I even produced a tour guide to help pay for it all. We entertain Nobel Prize winners here. For Christ's sake, Jack, Pablo Casales played here for us in the White House.
Yes, but sometimes I have to take heat from the press when they complain about your $30,000 ball gowns.
What do you expect, Jack? I am the most visible patron of the arts. I need to wear designer names. That bimbo, Marilyn Monroe, couldn't converse with de Gaulle about French culture when you accompanied me to Paris.
Jackie, remember your fiasco with Khrushchev? That time we met him in Vienna? You tried to talk about Tolstoy with him, and all he wanted to do was debate you about Russian GNP, like he did with Nixon in their kitchen debate.
Yeah, what about the fiasco with Mr. Khrushchev? Come to think of it, I did better than Jackie did with Mr. Khrushchev. I didn't even know who Khrushchev was. So, when 20th Century Fox invited me to meet him, I refused. But then my studio informed me that in Russia, America meant two things: Coca-Cola and Marilyn Monroe. So, I changed my mind. I ended up charming the pants off of him. I wore my tightest, sexiest dress. I guess there's not much sex in Russia. And after lunch, he finally got me to meet me in my low-cut, skin-tight black lace dress. The guy's actually a royal dolt, but I turned on the Marilyn Monroe act for him. All wide-eyed and gushy, I delivered a line that Natalie Wood, a fluent Russian speaker, had taught me. We, the workers of the 20th Century Fox, rejoice that you have come to visit our studio and our country. It worked like magic. Khrushchev couldn't take his eyes off of me.
You're a lovely young lady.
He said that squeezing my hand. Take that, Miss Prim and Proper. Sure, she could redecorate the White House in 18th century finery. Sure, she could dress like Cinderella going to the ball. After all, and after I'm gone, and after you're gone, Mr. President, she's going to make your legend live forever, selling that phony baloney Camelot story to the American people. But, Mr. President, we both know she couldn't take care of her man in the here and now like I could. I was more flexible. I was a fast learner. I studied method acting under the famous Lee Strasberg. Who says I couldn't have learned the role of First Lady? Who says I couldn't have talked Russian GDP with Khrushchev till the cows come home? Just give me a script. I could have been anything you wanted, Mr. President. Who says I couldn't have made a more popular First Lady? I was an actress. I could have pulled anything off. I'm a better actress than Jackie, Mr. President. Not divorcing her and marrying me was the worst mistake you ever made.
Jack, are you listening to me? If the country connects the dots about your affair with Marilyn Monroe, I will be personally humiliated. And that would be a disaster for your presidency. Do you really want to risk that? I have to ask, Jack, from your affairs to your foreign policy, is your true Kennedy nature really that reckless?
So be honest, Abe. What would you have been able to resist? What if you had known that you were going to die at the age of 56? I almost died 4 or 5 times before I was 25. Please say the last rites for me. I know my disease surely is killing me. But why let it go by or take it in stride, keeping it all what is right tonight. Live each night like tonight might be the last night here on earth. Live each night like tonight might be the last night here on earth. I found the line to reflect the truth. We are light on time, truth, yours and mine. How we shine half as long, twice as bright. But why let it go by, or take it in stride? Keeping it all on the sideline, hell no. Go live your life, do what is right, do what is right tonight. Live each night like tonight might be the last night here on earth. Live your life like tonight might be the last night here on earth.
Who is JFK in bed with?
Who is JFK in bed with now?
Oh, sure. Jackie could be political eye candy for JFK. She could impress America with a televised White House tour. She could invite Pablo Casals to play there, and JFK would say,
I am the man who accompanied Jacqueline Kennedy to Paris, and I have enjoyed it.
yes, Jackie could charm old men like de Gaulle with the glories of Versailles, thrill Adlai Stevenson at the opera. But JFK didn't go for that highbrow stuff, and he would secretly mock her tastes. I introduced him to the Broadway song, I Believe in You, from How to Succeed with Business Without Really Trying. He loved that one. In fact, he taught his intern, Mimi Beardsley, to sing it, and she would sing it to turn him on and to help him get off. JFK even had sex with me in the Lincoln bedroom. As preposterous as that might sound, I mean, how would Marilyn Monroe not be noticed in the White House? But JFK's friends, newsmen, and White House staff managed to keep the president's affairs with me and the others quiet all through JFK's White House years. But JFK was going to have to decide soon. Did he want to Jackie, who got foreplay tips from a sex doctor to keep him monogamous, or did JFK want to divorce her and marry me, sex goddess of the 20th century? Oh, decisions, decisions. What's more, I just put on the phony baloney baby doll accent hers and prayed around like I was a second Jackie Kennedy in dark glasses and a black wig.
The ghost of Marilyn strolls towards Lincoln's bed, where JFK seems to be awaiting her.
When will the charade end? JFK loves me. He's going to divorce you, Jackie, and marry me. And I'm going to move into the White House.
Yes, Jack will surely divorce me and marry you, and you'll move into the White House. Marilyn, why don't you tell me your chest size? so I can have a custom-made straitjacket ready for you when you move in. Dumb blonde.
No dumb blind was I, but urban legends are hard to die. I was typecast as your basic dumb blonde. In Tinseltown, I played the part with the magic wand. Oh, one can easily see I was troubled and distraught. But dumb for sure, I can tell you I was not. It was a bit brainy though, not only in my art, but dumb blonde for certain in matters of my heart. After all, I was an actor, and here is where I take my leave. It is for you, audience, to decide. Is dumb blonde for real, or is dumb blonde for me?
Where were you in the summer of '62 when Washington wives were away and politicians were able to play? Did someone pull some strings? Did someone plan his summer fling? To get Mimi Beardsdale a summer internship, to put her there to fulfill his fling. This was Guinevere who was to have this fling. Instead of Jackie's Camelot, Mimi screws the king.
Well, in June 1962, Mimi Beardsley became a White House intern. And the 19-year-old intern, yes, JFK's Monica, replaced me as JFK's lover. Here's how it happened.
Mind if I join you?
Oh, of course not, Mr. President.
I do look familiar. Have we met before?
As a matter of fact, we have, Mr. President. I came to the White House last year to interview Mrs. Kennedy. I was the editor of the school newspaper at Miss Porter's.
Her prep school?
Yes, and Mrs. Kennedy's social secretary, Tish Baldridge, also an alum from Miss Porter's, introduced us at the time.
And your name's Mimi, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. President.
And you're going to be in the press office this summer, right?
Yes, again, Mr. President.
Well, nice to see you, Mimi. I look forward to seeing more of you.
A few hours later, Dave Powers invited Mimi upstairs to a welcome to the staff get-together.
Would you like a private tour of the residence, Mimi? This is Mrs. Kennedy's bedroom. It's a very private room. Haven't you done this before? Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay?
Yes, Mr. President. I'll do anything you want. Well, if JFK asked you to serve your country, and you were 19 and a virgin, wouldn't you? Be honest with yourself. I was young and inexperienced, and he was handsome and charismatic, and the president. I was safer sex than Marilyn Monroe could ever be. And I was available on call in the White House. So all that summer of 1962, I would swim with the president and then wait for the call to join him in the president's quarters. And these booty calls were almost a daily occurrence since Mrs. Kennedy and the children were away from home vacationing for most of the summer months. At Miss Porter's, they treated us like daughters, taught us about couture and culture, how to be demure in order to procure a man of great wealth and stature. At 19, my heart was pure. The president chose me, what a lure. And I would be whatever he needed me to be. I must be the luckiest girl in the world. The most powerful man in the world wanted me. So far as I can see, I'll be whatever he needs me to be, 'cause the luck So far as I can see, I'll be whatever he needs me to be, 'cause the luckiest girl in the world is me. Whatever he needed me to be, whatever he needed me to be, whatever he needed me to be.
Who's the new girl?
Ah, that's Mimi's Beardsley. She came from Miss Porter's, your finishing school, sometime last year to interview you for the school newspaper. She was the editor, and it seemed like you were unavailable, but Tish Baldridge, your social secretary, gave the interview.
Tish, also a Miss Porter's alum.
Yep. And after the interview, Tish introduced Mimi to the president.
With friends like these,
Who's the new girl? Who's the new girl?
I am the new girl in town.
Wanted to know
Who brought me to town? Who bought me this gown? Introduced me around, turned your world upside down. Maybe I'm in over my head. This society's dead. Who ended up in Lincoln's bed? I am the new girl in town. I'm a lot like you. I just came for an interview. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? I make it feel young today. Make today a holiday. You're so yesterday. No bills to pay. No children in the way. I'm here to stay. So let him play. Let him play. I am the new girl in town. I am the new girl in town. I am the new girl in town. I am the new girl in town.
You know, I need my warm water baths to ease my backaches and pains. Some might say I like it hot, and for sure I like it steamy. Are you catching my drift, Mimi?
Yes, I really do know what you mean, Mr. President. I certainly do. But what are all those yellow rubber ducks doing lined up along the bathtub ledge?
I have them available for John to play with when he wanders in here while I am soaking. But sometimes I enjoy racing the rubber ducks also. Historians will have a field day trying to figure that one out, Mimi.
But Mr. President, how did you become a naval war hero?
Oh, it was easy. They sank my boat. I hope you don't intend to sink my duck.
Mr. President, all's fair in love, war, and rubber duck races. I can't believe I have a date with Prince Charming. He's silly and playful and so exquisitely darling.
Mimi, come and bathe with me. Share my special space where I unwind. The bath is my sacred place. The warm waters soothe my aching back and ease my mind. Take your duck and I'll take mine. Have a race, go back with me in time to a place and a space where it was safe just to be. Mimi, no one else has ever seen this side of me.
I have won the game and will now choose my prize. This girl's wish will be a ducky of surprise. It has all been quite fun, and we have had our little rinse. The prize I choose, more playdates with you, my Mr. President Prince.
While Mimi felt like the luckiest girl in the world, I felt like the unluckiest. My world was crashing down. I was missing for days at a time from the set of my latest movie, ironically called Something's Gotta Give. I was 36 years old, and my movie career in jeopardy. Dear Bobby Kennedy came out to Hollywood to inform me that my affair with Mr. Kennedy was over, and to help smooth things out with my studio, 20th Century Fox. I had made hit after hit for them for 10 years, but the bastards had unceremoniously canned me. I think I lost my earring, Bobby. Have you seen it?
Why don't we go and retrace your steps together?
The last time I remember seeing it, I was in the master bedroom.
Good. Let's go there and find it. Say, Peter, will you help us? Can you search the other wing of the house and check the driveway? Keep a close eye on the driveway, actually.
It was a bit rainy, though, not only in my art, but Dumblon's for certain with matters of my heart. You see, I was dumped by JFK and his brother Bob. Then my studio's pink slipped me, costing me my job. As my Yankee Joe often told me, 3 strikes and you're out. I was sad we were not able to fix that marriage, without a doubt.
Ring, ring.
Peter, it's very late. I had a lot to drink already, Peter. I'm out of here. I mean, really, I'm emotionally dead anyway. I'll just take a lot of sleeping pills. Please, tell your wife Pat goodbye for me. Now, Peter, say goodbye, Norma Jean.
Again, Marilyn, just get some rest. You'll get over this, and you'll feel fine in the morning.
August 5th, 1962, Marilyn Monroe is found dead. At her home in Los Angeles, cause of death, barbiturate overdose.
Sadly, Peter didn't take my cry for help or suicide threat seriously. And then it was too late.
Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe.
Wake up, Jack, know that life is in your hands. Don't let me go, worst mistake you'll ever make. Harder to turn on to. The worst mistake you'll ever make. Always remember to hold on to what's at stake. This one small planet we all share. How we all breathe the same air. All of this world was mine, but all I am is yours. No matter what you say, no matter where I go, I'll always just be the late Marilyn. No matter what you say, no matter who you know, I'll always just be the late Marilyn Monroe. Just one small step, it's up to you. Make your best move, the world will follow you. Just one small step, it's up to you. Make your best move, the world will follow you. No matter what you say, no matter
late. Marilyn, no matter what you say, no matter who you know, I'll always just be the late Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, the late Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, oh, the late Marilyn Monroe. It is October 16th, 1962 in the White House. The date and time when the Cuban Missile Crisis began.
Mr. President, these YouTube photos taken over Cuba show conclusively the existence of Russian nuclear missiles just 90 miles from Florida.
Celebrate Air Force General Curtis LeMay saw the Cuban Missile Crisis at the perfect opportunity to bomb the commies all to hell.
I love you, you too. There's just nothing you can do for me to make all those bleeding hearts see what those atheistic communists intend to do to the land of the free. Oh, I love you, you too. There's no satellite that can do what you do. Vanguard of our national security through and through. Oh, I love you, you too. Oh, I love you, you too. Slender and beautiful, you fly so true. Higher than the tallest mountain, higher than the others do. I love you, you too. Oh, I love you, you too.
Those lying bastards! Ambassador Dobrynin told me there were no Russian missiles in Cuba. And Foreign Minister Gromyko denied that there were any missiles in Cuba that could reach the U.S. Everyone shut up! Turn on the TV. Adlai Stevenson is at the UN.
That loser's confronting the Russians at the UN?
Ambassador Zorin, what's up with these weapons you're storing? You say these missiles don't exist, even though we know they all would miss. We have photographic evidence. You can't be trusted, you comprehend it. You are so busted, so don't wait for the translation. Don't wait for the translation, yes or no. Yes or no. I'm prepared to wait until hell freezes over, just for you to tell us the truth. I came here today with photographic evidence. I'm prepared to show just for you to tell us the truth. Just for you to tell us the truth.
Till hell freezes over. Ha ha! That's Stevenson's balls talking. Mr. President, we must bomb those missile sites now. This crazy idea of yours of a naval blockade of Cuba would seem weak to the American people. Why, a blockade is almost as bad as appeasement in Munich.
Now let me get this straight, General. You are proposing instead an all-out air attack on those missiles in Cuba, followed by an actual invasion of Cuba?
Correct, Mr. President.
You think that the Russians will take the loss of thousands of their soldiers, not to mention all of those nuclear weapons, and not do anything?
That is correct, sir. They won't do a thing. They know they would lose a nuclear war to overwhelming American superiority.
And if you're wrong, General, if you've miscalculated, and if Mr. Khrushchev responds to our wiping out those missiles and killing the thousands of Russians manning those missiles with an all-out nuclear war with the United States, and if I, as the President, have to answer to at least 80 million American dead, what then, General? What then?
Tell them, Mr. President, that sometimes shit hits the fan.
Now, Bobby, if we let the General LeMays of the world steamroll me into invading Cuba, Khrushchev will retaliate with nuclear weapons. And we have to respond in kind.
That's unthinkable.
Interrupt your normal programming to bring you this important bulletin from the United States Government Department of Civil Defense. We believe the United States is currently experiencing a nuclear attack. This time, please take all precautions necessary. This is not a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test of the emergency. What the hell are you still doing here? Perhaps the warning wasn't clear enough for you. Please take the shelter that the siren tells you to. This is not a test. Please take the shelter that the siren tells you to. This is not a test. Please take the shelter that the siren tells you to.
If we think this is common sense, questions of consequence, we better think again. We better think again. If we think we're unbreakable, think this world ain't unmakeable, we'd better think again. We'd better think again. We are in a completely new situation that cannot be resolved by war. Just the slightest wrong miscalculation, and then no one will ever know what all the poison was for. Oh, oh, unthinkable. Oh, oh, unthinkable. Oh, oh, unthinkable. Oh, oh, unthinkable.
Bobby, we gotta cool things down before the world blows up. Maybe this blockade quarantine thing might buy Khrushchev and us some time till cooler heads prevail.
The rest of the generals won't give their honest opinion with you there. Why don't you go on campaigning in Chicago and leave things with me to work out with the generals?
When I need help, I can always count on you, Bobby.
If we ever hear walls closing in, as we surely would if we would ever listen, if we ever see giant tidal waves sweeping crashing down across the landscape, we take advantage while we can. We take it all for granted since the world began. It's time to make ourselves a new and better plan while we can. While we can. If we ever fear the ceiling caving in, as it surely would if we would ever pay attention. If we ever hear a mock-wise stem sing, well past time to say that this is really happening. We take advantage while we can. We take it all for granted since it all began. It's time to make ourselves a new and better plan while we can. While we can. While we can.
Bobby, maybe you'll be the hero in that alternate versions of the Missiles of October. The one where we work things out. A blockade of Cuba at least gives us a possible way out. I don't want somebody writing a book about how we stumbled into nuclear superpower confrontation called the Missiles of October.
An invasion is out. There's not enough time and logistics to make things happen. Bombing the sites is out too. The military cannot guarantee we can get all of them. I didn't want to reverse Pearl Harbor on your hands anyway. The quarantine is on then.
October 22nd, 1962, President Kennedy, in a nationwide televised address on all major stations, announces that Russian missiles have been discovered in Cuba.
It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missiles launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States, acquiring a full retaliatory response upon the Soviet Union. We shall call upon the U.S. Navy to enact a strategic quarantine of Cuba. Blockade of permitted to call a spade will stop and search all inbound ships and all offensive weapons turned away.
The Americans have blinked.
What do you mean, Premier Khrushchev?
The Americans have shown the weakness by overreacting. It seems that Kennedy went to sleep with a wooden knife.
What do you mean, wooden knife?
They say that when someone goes bear hunting for the first time, he takes a wooden knife with him. So it's easier to clean his pants.
But 3 days into the showdown with the United States, some Soviet officials were wondering who was more in need of the wooden knife. The president, or Khrushchev. Khrushchev quickly realized that his something's gotta give was the Russian missiles in Cuba. He sent a panicky letter to the president, offering to take the missiles out in exchange for an American pledge never to invade Cuba. But before the United States could respond, he sent a harsher letter adding that the U.S. must pull out the American missiles from Turkey in exchange for the removal of missiles from Cuba.
Dave, get Mimi here this weekend. I want her at the White House night and day. If I'm going to die, I want to die with a smile on my face.
We interrupt your normal programming to bring you this test of the emergency broadcasting system in case the United States comes under attack. Please take all precautions necessary. Everybody, duck and cover under your seats. I see you over there, you're not ducking. Come on, let's go. Little ducking and covering. Duck down, that's it, back those heads. Good. Very good. Oh, have I scared you? All right, it's okay. Just go back to your seat. Okay. All right. This has only been a test. Should there be a nuclear attack, the duck and cover move can be your friend. I repeat, should there be a nuclear attack, the duck and move cover can be your friend. This has been a test of the emergency broadcast system. This has been a test of the emergency broadcast system.
Oh, that hair treatment feels good. It really relaxes me before these press conferences. I tell Jackie that everybody is wild over her bouffant hairstyle, but she insists that everybody is wild over my hair. Say, Mimi, why don't you come around here and rock and roll with your Elvis?
I don't think there's enough time before the press conference.
Oh, how about a quickie? Mimi, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Mimi, this is the Oval Office, a very special place. And this Oval Desk is a very special desk. Mimi, do you want to go behind the Oval Office desk to duck and cover with me? Got a favor to ask of you, now you mind going down under my desk now, Mimi, really, really need you now to duck and cover for me.
Mr. President, I readily consent. I'll be circumspect, no one need have of you. But the country needs you stable, so I'll get under this table. Yes, sir, I'll duck and cover for you.
Don't worry, Mimi. We'll let you know when it's safe to uncover. Go on, you head down below. It's all ready for you to discover.
Mr. President, I'll give this my 100%. I know how much you need your attention, please. But I smile when I think how clear you will be when you've been ducked and covered by me.
Oh yeah, Mimi, the way you duck and cover this don't change what we found in one another.
This missile's gonna launch from how you duck and cover. Everybody needs you now to duck and cover. Everybody needs you now to duck and cover.
For me.
Listen, Jack, if it comes to the end of the world, the children and I want to be there with you. I want to be with you. I'll be on the front lawn with you, facing the end courageously.
Jackie, I need you to stay in Virginia with the children. You'll be safer there. I don't know what's going to happen here. But if I'm going to die, Jackie, I want to die hoping that you and the children made it. Do this for us now. Stay put.
Mr. President, those dark circles under your eyes are awful. I'm glad you had these powers bring me down here from college to comfort you.
And I am touched that you wanted to join me here in this dangerous time and place. Mimi, have you heard the joke going around school all over America now? It's not what do you want to be when you grow up, but what do you want to be if you grow up? Mimi, do you want children of your own someday? I dearly wish that for you in a fatherly way. I will do anything so the children and grandchildren of this world have a chance to live out their lives to the fullest. You're young, Mimi. You've got a long life ahead of you.
Mr. President, you're not so old yourself. You've got a long life ahead of you.
Think of my children, John, John, and Caroline. I want to see their lives go to the end of their time. They're young and I want to see them gracefully age. Certainly not to become born in a nuclear exchange. Freedom gives a choice how we rise and fall. Better dead than red leaves no choice at all. Maybe this quarantine is what we're about. Maybe this blockade is our strategic way out. I want a second term. I want to save the young. I want to see it through and change the world before it's done. Here we make a choice, how we rise and fall. Better dead than red, leaves no choice at all. Leaves no choice at all. Leaves no choice at all.
As the last days of the Cuban Missile Crisis moved closer and closer to 1 minute to midnight, more and more things took on the appearance of a Chinese fire drill during the fog of war.
One of our U-2 flight paths strayed over Russian territory. The Russians have shot down another of our U-2s over Cuba and killed the pilot.
What else could go wrong?
American ships near Cuba are trying to force Russian submarines that are armed with nuclear missiles to the surface.
That's all we need. Nuclear war is going to break out because some poor dumb bastard submarine captain didn't get the message.
And LeMay wants an attack on the Cuban missile sites by Monday if the Russians don't agree to our terms. Why don't we ignore the second letter and just answer the first letter? Let me draft a response with Ted Sorensen and take it to the Russian ambassador.
What if the Russians insist on a Turkey for Cuba trade in writing?
I'll tell them we'll pull the missiles out of Turkey in 4 or 5 months. But we can't put it in writing. I'll tell the ambassador that time is short. I'll say that if we don't get an answer soon, LeMay is ready to start bombing tomorrow.
Aw, Dave, the way you're eating up all that chicken and drinking up all my wine, anybody would think this was your last supper.
Well, the way Bobby's been talking, I thought it was. If I'm going to die, I want to die on a full stomach.
I say, if this is your last supper, then eat dessert first. Why don't we go watch a movie in this screening room? It might calm us down.
What do you want to watch?
Put on Roman Holiday, Dave. Have I told you about my affair with the star of that movie, Audrey Hepburn?
Not recently, Mr. President.
So time is stopped, allows us to reflect.
So quiet and serene, allows us to forget.
We might never see another sunset.
Or smoke another cigarette.
We might not even finish our duet. We might never see the sunrise, never see the time pass in your eyes.
Looking on the bright side, I'll never go up a dress size.
You are my last night on earth, lover. We have run out of time for all the others.
Time is magnified when we come overnight to see the skies collide. Take one last ride with your summer pride, one place to hide from the suicide outside.
You are my last night on earth, lover. You are my last night on earth.
You are my love.
28, 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis ended.
Then, suddenly and poignantly, the Cuban Missile Crisis came to a climax. She...
I feel like celebrating tonight. Maybe we can go out to someplace like Ford's Theater.
Americans and Russians had more in common than differences on this one small planet. And their differences weren't worth going to nuclear war over. And on June 10th, 1963, JFK delivered the Pax Americana speech at American University in Washington, D.C.
I have chosen this time and place to discuss a topic on which ignorance abounds and the truth to really receive. And this is the most important topic on earth: peace. What kind of peace do I mean? What kind of peace do we seek? Not a Pax Americana, not the security of a slave, not a Pax Americana, enforced on the world by American weapons of war. Not just peace in our time, but peace in all time. Not just peace for Americans, but peace for all men and women. Not just peace in our time, but peace
In our time.
President Kennedy perhaps had a premonition about his assassination. He attended a lecture in the White House by Professor Donald, no, not the Donald, but David Herbert Donald, a Pulitzer Prize-winning Lincoln biographer and Civil War expert. And JFK asked,
Professor Donald, do you think if Lincoln had lived, would his reputation been as great as it currently is in the United States?
Probably not. Would have to have wrestled with the problems of Reconstruction in the post-Civil War era.
Well, given my Cuban Missile success, if anyone's going to kill me, it should happen now.
JFK's whole life was like a death-defying Houdini act. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was read his last rites on 3 occasions. He had had 30-something hospitalizations, including multiple failed back operations. And his medical history didn't even include World War II, when a Japanese destroyer cut his PT-109 in half, almost killing JFK and his crew. No wonder why JFK lived life so fully. Any day might have been his last day on Earth.
Live your life like today might be your last day here on Earth. Live your life like today might be the last day of life on Earth.
Where were you in October of '62? on the brink of nuclear obliteration, and we went eyeball to eyeball, and the other guy blinked, leaving room for clandestine negotiation. Don't let it be forgot that once there was a spot for one brief shining moment that was known as Camelot. I know not a lot about the myth of Camelot, but this I know to be true. John F. Kennedy sure came a lot. Might be the last night here on earth. Live your life like you died. Might be the last day here on earth. Life like today might be the last day. Life like today might be the last day.
But before that, we have a special song for someone in the audience.
Oh.
Ah!
Yeah,